That's it, guys. That's our very first full production line here in Satisfactory, and I love it. Factory, I'm an old guy gaming, and I'm very excited for this episode because we are going to build our very first full production line for biofuel, and then get our bio power plant set up. So yeah, everything we've done up to this point has been so that we can start building these amazing factories in this game. So really excited to get started with this. Now, if you guys remember, as we come up the ramp here, this set of foundations is our roadway. So we always want to keep that clear. These cables that are going down through there are temporary, of course. So that means we can start building right here on this tile. Excuse me. All right, so we're going to get started with a storage container, and we want to make sure that the output, the arrows going out, also green, blue color, are facing away from us. And then we're going to take the wire frame of this, and we're going to make sure it's right on the seam of the foundation and pop it in just right there. Excellent. Okay. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to come over here, and we're going to put in a constructor. So I'm going to press the 0 key because I've mapped that to my 0 hotbar button, and make sure that that's the input side, which it is. We're going to hold down Control this time and make sure we're perfectly lined up. And we're going to actually push it back as far as it'll go until it turns red. And then we're going to pull it forward until it turns green. Okay? Actually, we don't need Control because it's already lined up. Excellent. Okay, now we're going to take and add a conveyor into there. Make sure it's going in the right direction, which it is, and that's a beautiful thing. Okay, so this first setup is going to be for biomass based upon leaves. So the idea is that we're going to come in here, we're going to fill this container up with leaves, and then it's going to feed the leaves into this constructor, which is then going to turn it into biomass. Okay, now we're going to do the same thing for a wood setup. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take press the F key and just middle mouse button that to copy. Make sure that the inputs and outputs are on the right side, and we want this in the center of this tile. Holding down the Control key, making sure it's perfectly lined up, and we'll build that container there. Beautiful. Now we're going to come on this side, and we're going to do exactly the same thing. So we're going to hold down F, middle mouse button the constructor, make sure everything is perfectly lined up by holding Control key, and build that one. Beautiful. We're going to set this one to do biomass based upon wood. All right, cool. And then again, hook in a conveyor to there. Beautiful. Okay. Next thing is we're going to use for the very first time a merger. Because what we want to do is both of those, even though they're taking different inputs, they're both going to output the same thing, and that's biomass itself. Okay, so what we're going to do is go into the Q menu. We're going to select the logistics, and we're going to select a merger this time. Okay, merger is the exact opposite of a splitter, of course. It merges things together. So you have one output. You have one. You have one output and 3 inputs. So what we want to do is we want to make sure the output is facing towards us, and then we're going to do the same exact thing before, where we're going to just move it as close as we can until it turns red. Actually, we're going to move it out till it's blue, and then build it. There's a new feature, and it's in some cases it makes perfect sense. And I mean, I'm going to show you an example of this, but we have a new feature now where you can build stuff closer than the game used to let you do it. But when it turns yellow, it means there might be some clipping and stuff. Sometimes you don't want that. Sometimes it doesn't matter. And there's a name for it, but I can't remember what it's called. So, okay, so we feed the input of that into that merger. And then we're also going to want to feed a conveyor line into here. 3, that's what you want. Now, here's the thing. If I just do this, you see how it's not a perfect 90 degree? It'll work, it'll function, no problem, but aesthetically it's not all that great. So there's a trick to do this, and all of you experienced players probably already know this. But what you want to do to get that to line up with a nice, beautiful 90 degree angle is you want to go ahead and stick your conveyor belt in and bring it out until you see that it's lined up with the next input with that nice 90 degree line. Now what you do is you push it back 2 slots, okay? Now if this was update 4, I wouldn't be able to do this because it wouldn't let me do this. But in this case, it's going to let me do it because this is the new feature of update 5, and we're going to be perfectly fine doing this, okay? Now, if I was playing in update 4 for some reason, the way I would have to fix this is I would have to hold this out a little further than it currently is. So the beauty of this new feature that lets us clip stuff is we can make, we can keep stuff closer together and make our factories a little more compact. All right, so very cool. Now, if you're trying to set up something that's going to be impossible, then it will turn red, and then it certainly won't let you do it. So basically what it's just telling you is clipping may occur. That might be a problem or it might not, and so you have to decide. Okay, so let's go over this again. We hold this out until we have the perfect 90-degree alignment, and then we just go back 2 sections, and then we build the first conveyor belt, and then we just build the other one like so, and we have ourselves a nice perfect 90-degree angle into our next input. It's a beautiful thing. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to set up another constructor. Okay, so I'm going to press F, middle mouse button, that constructor. Come over here. We want to make sure that the input's on the correct side. We're going to hold down the control key, make sure everything's perfectly lined up. Push this back as far as we can push it until it turns blue. Okay, put that in place. And then the output of the merger, which is going to be feeding biomass, will go into here. Perfect. Okay, let's set this to make solid biofuel. This is our end product of this little chain here. Okay, it's a beautiful thing. All right, now, the way we're going to handle this next part is that I want to have 2 containers to store the solid biofuel, because over time what's going to happen, especially later on when our biofuel power plant becomes a backup power plant once we get into coal, the bin's eventually going to fill up. So I want to have 2 full containers eventually of solid biomass, or solid biofuel, I should say. Okay, and I want that to fill up automatically. So the problem that we're going to run into is I'm going to put 2 containers here, but the problem we're going to run into is we're not going to have enough clearance to loop one into the other if I run a line out here to a bottom one and then loop it back up with an elevator. There's not enough clearance, okay? So we're going to kind of do this in reverse. So what we're going to do is we're going to get an elevator. We're going to attach that elevator to there. We're going to use our middle mouse button to turn it 90 degrees that way and put it in place, okay? Now what we're going to do is we're going to get ourselves a storage bin like this. And we're going to want the input of this first storage bin to be on the left-hand side, and you'll see why here in a minute as we set this up, okay? We're going to hold down Control, make sure everything is perfectly in the middle, lined up with everything, and then we're going to build this one. Beautiful. Now, we're going to go up to the top, or we're going to build another one on top, and we want to make sure that the inputs and outputs are reversed, which they are, okay? Because we have the orange on the input side there and the output on the output side up there. Okay, let's build that storage container. It's a beautiful thing. All right, now here's where, once again, this new feature where we can clip stuff that we normally wouldn't be able to is going to really come in handy. So what we're going to do is we're going to pop a conveyor in the output of this, and we're going to wrap it all the way around here. And look at it go in there just beautifully. See, again, I wouldn't have been able to do this in Update 4. And everything is a perfect 90 degrees, wrapping around and feeding our finished product, our solid biofuel, into here. And then just to get it filling both containers, we just simply set up one more elevator here, like so, and it'll just loop it. It'll feed into this, and it'll loop it down to this. Now, once this one completely fills up, then it'll start filling that one up. And there we go. Okay, so we've got everything built. We've got everything set up. The next thing we need, of course, is power. And then we need to feed fuel into, or product into the 2 chests, leaves and wood. So let's set up our first, excuse me, we're going to set up our first of what's going to ultimately be 12 bio burners. Okay, we don't want to put anything on this last row. Remember, our rule for this playthrough series is to always keep one open tile or foundation with for all of our factories, just so, you know, everything looks nice. It's all uniform. We have more movement and that sort of thing. We're going to fudge on that a little bit in some cases, like especially with these, but for the most part, that's what we want to do. That means this square here, which is also lines up with the front of, well, sort of kind of, front of our space elevator is in place for us, okay? So let's go into the Q menu. Let's grab our biomass burner, our first one. And for this guy, I'm going to turn it so that it's facing this direction. Or we could even face it this direction too. These guys are a little bit odd because of the way that their shape goes and all that sort of thing. I think what we'll do is we'll keep it this direction, okay? And then what I want to do is I want to make sure that the line, the white wire frame, is not on the seam this time, but we want to push it back one more. And the reason for that is because we're going to put power poles on the intersections of the foundations. Okay, so rather than have it on the seam, I'm going to push it back one more and make sure everything else is in the middle, and then we'll build our biomass burner here. Okay, so it's kind of sort of sticking out a little bit on this side, but we're not worried about it. We're good to go. Beautiful. Now, next thing we're going to do is we're going to pop a power pole right in the middle of the intersections there. So it's nice and neat and lined up, and all our other power poles in this vicinity will also be on those intersections. So our power lines are beautifully lined up and everything is right with the world. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to attach to our pole. Then we're going to attach a line to our first constructor, a line to that constructor, and a line to that constructor. All right. And yeah, the lines are kind of going through the container, but that's okay. At some point, you can't get too terribly picky about those things, or it just becomes a little bit too much. Okay. And we could, there's stuff we might be able to do later on to fix that and even make it a little bit better. Okay, cool. Now I have, I have a little bit of solid biofuel already in my inventory. So we're going to pop that in here. Where did it go? Here we go. Okay. And by the way, the solid biofuel consumes 4 per minute. The biomass is 10 per minute. The flowers are 12 per minute, and the leaves are 60 per minute. So you can see, why this is so much more efficient. All right, cool. So we got our power running. Everything looks good there. And our systems are ready because they're yellow. So yellow means we got a recipe set up. They're ready to go, but they're waiting on something, in this case, the wood and the leaves. So let's go over here, and we're going to grab all of the wood and leaves out of here. I think I'm going to do a take all, but then we'll put the flowers and other things back in here that we don't currently need. What's that? That's biomass itself. Okay. We'll grab all this stuff here. Okay. Now, before we start loading these up, since I have a little bit of extra biomass, I'm going to go ahead and throw that in here right now. Oh, no, right here. Oh, no, I'm sorry, wrong one. We got to do it over on this constructor. Okay, so we should be able to get that in there, and looks like that's all it's going to take. Okay, we can take the remaining biomass that we have and just go throw it in the one down below, or these guys up here for the time being. The one down below and even probably these guys. We might still add these guys to the grid. I don't know. We'll see. But for now, let's right-click that to split it and get these guys going again here. Okay, cool. So that uses up all our biomass. Okay, so now we just have to remember that the right-hand crate is leaves. And the left one is wood. Very good. All right, our production has started, and we can already see solid biofuel coming through. All right, so this guy's feeding leaves into the constructor that's creating biomass from the leaves, and of course this guy is feeding wood into the constructor that's creating biomass out of wood. Both of them are outputting biomass into the merger, and then that stuff's being fed into the third constructor, which is making the actual solid biomass itself. And we kind of primed it already, by putting that extra in. And then the biomass fuel is coming up through here around a really nice and neat 90-degree conveyor belt. It's going into this storage, coming down through here, as you can see, and beginning to accumulate in this bottom storage. It's a beautiful thing. I love it. That's it, guys. That's our very first full production line here in Satisfactory, and I love it. Okay, cool. So now we got that going. Let's go ahead and get the power plants set up. So my plan is to set up 12 of these guys, and we might run out of stuff. So if we do, of course, we'll just get get some more things as we go along. Before we do that, though, I'd actually like to check the other power plant down below, and let's grab some of this biofuel and just make sure that it's still going too, because we want these other ones to continue on for just a little bit longer, until we get this power plant completely set up. And then we'll dismantle the ones down below and use our new power plant. But I want to keep everything going down here until that time comes. Okay, so we're just going to put all of that fuel in here so that starts back up and continues our production down here. Now, while I'm down here, let me just look and see what I actually have. So we got cables, we got plenty of wire. We could probably use some more plates and rods. What do we need for this? Plates, rods, and wire. Actually, we have quite a bit already, but let's just stock up a little more just so we don't run out and we can get everything done. So I'm going to grab a couple more stacks of rods. Let's grab a couple more stacks of plates. Or that many plates anyways. And I think we're good on wire. Cable. Yeah, and we're probably okay on cable. We might need a little more cable and a little more concrete just to run all of our power poles. So let's run over here, and grab that stuff too. Grab all the concrete that we currently have. And our cables are being produced in this upper bin. Lots of cables. Beautiful. So let's grab a couple stacks of that. Okay, cool. Let's go back and get our power plant set up. Alrighty. We're going to press F, middle mouse button, to copy that. And it looks like it's going the right direction. And if I just hold down control, it'll snap into place beautifully. And we're going to build 6 on each side. Let's do it. Perfect. Okay, now we're going to set up power poles for each power plant. And we're going to put all of those right on the intersection for each one. So they're nice and neat and lined up. Excellent. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to connect them all together. Okay, now, because this one's maxed out, and by the way, later on we will be able to get better power poles that will allow us to have more connections on it. But right now we're limited to the 4, right? So what we're going to do here is we're going to remove this one. And instead we're going to connect from here to here. And then we're going to run a line from this one over to here. See, that looks a little bit better because now we don't have a power line going through the container like we had before. What's left to do now is just start filling these guys up with our solid biofuel, and then we will have a pretty good power grid to start with. And so you can see that our maximum capacity is going to be... wait, why isn't that showing the maximum capacity? Oh, you know why? I think it's because we don't have the other ones turned on yet. Okay, that's what it is. So basically, 6 times 30 is 6 times 3 is 18. 6 times 30, 180. So we're gonna have 100. We should have 180 megawatts on this whole grid once everything is running. Okay, cool. Very cool. All right, guys. Well, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the camera here, and I'm going to just wait for a while. I might go out and harvest some more trees and leaves and stuff to get these, things filled up, and wait until we can get all of our power plants here up and running with the solid biofuel. And when we get to that point, I'll bring you back, and then we'll do the next thing. Okay, so I'll see you in a bit. All right, guys, I'm back. I went out and harvested a bunch more wood and leaves. So the wood is almost 2/3 full. The leaves bin is completely full, or it was a moment ago. And we have 5 of our generators going. And I don't have to get the entire 12 going all at once if I don't want to. I can just add more to it as we go along. But even if I do get them all going at the same time, it's okay because, like I mentioned, I think a couple episodes ago, these biogenerators don't use anything more than what's being drawn from them, so none of the power will be wasted, even if we do get them all online. So we got that done. What I want to do now to finish up this episode is I want to bring our power down below now. So that way we don't need to worry about the power plants down below. And once these guys run out, I'm just going to let them run out, and I probably won't use them because we're not going to need them. And that way it's just, a few less stations that we have to manually feed fuel into. All right. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to, just got to think about this for a second. What we're going to do is let's bring a power line out to here. So we'll connect to that. Oh, that guy's already maxed. Okay, that's fine. What we're going to do is we're going to bring this, we're going to put a power pole here, like so. And we're going to undo this and then run power from there to there and then from here to here. There we go. Okay, so that takes care of that. And now, what we might end up actually doing here, let's take this out for a second and see what's right down below it. Yeah, okay. So what I think I'm going to do here is let's get over right to about here. And we're going to connect to this guy, and we're just going to go straight down from here. Now, I'm not going to be able to get it like perfectly straight, but we want it... I'm going to have to kind of just guesstimate, but I think it's going to be... Oh, actually, you know how we could get this straight now that I think about it? Why don't we get this out and hold down control? Well, we want it on the... Yeah, we want it on the global grid. Okay, so is that directly below us? I think so. Okay, cool. So now what we can do is take the pole and put it right on the corner of this. And then it should be, theoretically, perfectly straight underneath. And, that certainly isn't necessary at all, but it just makes things look a little neater, right? Okay, we'll replace that. And then we'll head on down here. Loving that global grid. It's so useful. Yeah. Oh, man, that's awesome. Okay, cool. So now what we're going to do is... These guys are connected up above, and we're going to let them run out. So what I think I'm going to do instead is... This is the line that's being powered off of here. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to pick this up, and we're going to run a line from here to here. Okay, and so now that puts this grid on our main power grid up above, which is powering all that stuff down that direction. And we're going to let the two Jennies up above run out, and then when they do, then I'll just also connect this power to these lines until, and you know that, and we'll just keep it that way until we move everything up above. Which leads into the next thing. And so I think what we're going to do in the next episode is we're going to get the concrete production line set up above on our factory floor. Then we'll probably do the copper next, and then we'll do the iron last. And the reason we're doing the iron last is because the iron has the most products. So with iron we have plates, rods, screws, and here, let's look at our O menu here. So parts. So we have to do plates, rods, screws, and then reinforced plates, which is going to require an assembler. And then there's even more stuff, you know, that the iron requires. So what I'm trying to say is we're going to do it from the easiest to the hardest. So concrete's going to be the easiest to set up because that's all we ever create is just concrete. Copper's going to be the next easiest because we only need 3 products in total from the copper, which is copper sheeting, copper wires, and cables. And then iron's going to be the most extensive because it produces the most products, or is required for more advanced products more than any of the others are, if that makes sense. So yeah, next episode we will work on concrete. Now, when I was out and about, I found another limestone deposit nearby. And I think it was just right over there. Yeah, so there's one 167 meters away. There's also one 371 meters that way. That's just a normal one, but we'll probably eventually tap into it. And then of course we have our pure node over there. This one over this way is pure as well. So we're probably going to tap into both of those 2 pure nodes to start with, and set up our concrete production chain in the next episode. So that is the plan. All right, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you did, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, leave a comment and share out the video. And we'll catch you in the next episode. Are we out of power now? Nope, that's still running. What about this one? This one's out. Okay. All right, guys. See ya. Bye.